Hi, and welcome to 15 Minutes of Consulting Best Practices. I'm David A. Fields, and I'm joined by my colleague, Carol Williams. Good morning, Carol.
Good morning, David. Happy Monday.
Thank you. And for those of you who are joining us, please, hello, John. Like John, follow in John's footsteps and say hello to us in the comments. The format here is really simple. You ask questions, and then we give you answers. Hopefully answers that will help you enjoy a more rewarding, lucrative, successful consulting practice. Just type your questions in the chat. Y'all had a lot of questions last week, which I think we managed to get through almost all of them or all of them, which was excellent. So do that again. We will play Stump Carol. That's the objective today. Jaron, did anyone send in anything? So do we have any in the bag that someone sent during the week? And if we do, Carol, you go ahead and read it, and I'll take the first one. So go ahead.
Okay, that sounds great. All right, so Hamilton has submitted a great question. I've been a longtime subscriber, always loved your content.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Hamilton. I am finding that AI is making a significant difference to the business model we've all known and loved and worked in. But I and my teams are rapidly able to output significantly more in many cases, all materially impacting how we cost, recover, drive profit, and differentiate. Curious to know if you're seeing it too. I imagine it's impacting your customers heavily. David, you are seeing this. Tell us what you're seeing.
AI. So this is the AI question, which comes up in every conversation now. I think there's two sides to this, right? There's the external side and the internal side, which, because consulting as firm leaders, we have to deal with externally what's going on and then internally. So internally, what you're saying, Hamilton, is absolutely the case. I mean, this is what we're seeing some firms do. We've seen some of our clients enjoy really massive productivity gains. We have seen some use AI to lesser effect, and we've seen some clients replace almost all of their SaaS stack with internally built custom-made tools. So we definitely have a point of view on where AI applies internally and where it doesn't. However, I suppose as a bottom line, if you are not enabling your firm with AI, you will start losing more and more to firms that are using AI. So that's on the internal side. And if you disagree with me or have another point of view, please type in the chat, join in the conversation, or you have a question. So that's internal. On the external side, AI is raising the DIY threshold, the do-it-yourself threshold, and so that's sort of lifting, and it is flat out replacing some areas of consulting. So, Carol, as you know, we have talked with some end clients that have just flat out said they're using an LLM, whether it's ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, to guide them on a strategic project rather than hiring a consulting firm. So, there is definite replacement. There's definite pressure on the consulting space externally. But there's a lot more need for implementation, for expert implementation of all these AI-generated strategies. And there's also a lot of desire for human touch in some areas. So externally, there's definitely pressure. It's hard to see where it's going. I, for one, have no idea what it's going to look like 2 years from now. I think it's really difficult to tell. I think that from what I can see, and Carol, you may have a different answer, the experts don't seem to be in the same place. I mean, folks who really know this space have very divergent points of view on where AI is going and where it can go and where it tops out from a pure energy usage standpoint or capability standpoint, and that will make a difference also. So I don't know if that answers your question, Hamilton, or not, whether you joined, because I think you emailed that in. Carol, agree, disagree, different points of view? What do you think?
I definitely agree. I think there are some additional considerations around being mindful around what you're willing to use AI on versus what you're not willing to use AI on. And also being able to reflect that back out to your prospects and clients and letting them know we purposefully made this this decision to not use AI in these components because of X, and having that be part of your conversation with them as well.
Yeah. And John asking, where have you learned? What have you learned about where and where not to apply AI? I'll jump on this first, just because it's a follow-on from this one, and Carol, you can add in. So what we have seen is, so first of all, applying AI to anything that's not repeatable generally doesn't make a ton of sense in terms of internal processes, right? You're looking for things that you operate on more than one, or tasks you complete multiple times. And then the real discriminators on should we use this for AI, should we use AI to do this or not, are what level of quality is required, especially for the end task or for the part that AI would do. And anything above, call it 85% quality, you don't want AI doing all the way through. If 85% quality or 90% quality is good enough, AI is great. And also, how much nuance or variation is there? The less nuance, the more suited it is for AI. The more your answers are nuanced, the less suited. So tasks that are just repeated over and over, low nuance, low quality, it's mostly internal, those are great. That's what I have seen. Carol, other thoughts on that?
I'm actually going to go into the where not and focus on that using my hat of my background in risk management. And that's going to be being very mindful around certain types of AI tools not being used for certain things versus, so as an example, not putting company proprietary information into a large language model that's out to the public, where whatever you think is proprietary, it's now no longer proprietary. So making sure that you're keeping that behind firewalls and having something that's locally installed for yourself on that one. So just be mindful of that.
Excellent. So John, let us know. Does that help? Does it answer your question? And hi, Shankar. And perfect. And y'all are quiet today, so maybe folks are on vacation, which is all good. So Jaron, do we have other questions that were submitted? We do. What's Lindsay say? My firm CEO just asked me to come up with a BD strategy for my vertical. Okay, got it. So larger firm, you run a vertical and you want a BD strategy other than here's what's happening with this client. Perfect. Can you give me any tips for what this should look like? Sure, we can do that, Carol. What should a BD strategy look like?
Has three major components to it, Lindsay. One is target. One is how are you going to reach that target? And then what offering do you think that target is most likely to buy? So breaking it down just a little bit more, target, you need to identify company and the individual at that company. And from a reach, how are you going to reach out to them? What's your method? And then offering what solution would best fit the problem that they are having and the parameters for that client.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Yeah, pretty straightforward, but there's elements and layers to that.
Yeah, I would think that, so if a CEO is asking for this, what is a CEO looking for in terms of strategy? That sounds right. They're looking for who are you targeting, and then how are you going to actually get those people, and with what. So that makes sense. Depends probably on the firm. Some CEOs want that BD strategy to be pretty fleshed out with like what exactly are you going to do when, and who are you calling, and who are you partnering with, and how many webinars, and all that kind of stuff. So makes sense to me. All right, great. Let us know whether you have questions about that.
Yeah.
Jaron, any more, or is this going to be the shortest Q&A? All right, go ahead, Carol. You read.
Oh, maybe I can stump David this time. All right. So 2 weeks ago, and this is from Kevin, I met with the CEO of a prospect. I presented a view of our industry, and he liked it and our firm's credentials, and he wants his team to work with us, but he's too high level. He doesn't buy. So Kevin got a meeting with the director at the right level, and he's now got 30 minutes on the calendar. Says his team is going to be there. Kevin wants to know, how do I avoid the session from ending up with "that's useful, thanks," and that's all? What do you think, David?
An interesting one. So the CEO wants to work with you. That's good. and pushed it down. So that's interesting. Good lesson there for a lot of people who are listening, who think, oh, you always want to get to the CEO. This is not uncommon. Often the CEO is too high level. The CEO is going to push it down. And John, we'll get back to you on your question. So pushed it down. Really good sign that director's bringing his or her team. I don't remember whether you had gender in there. So that's a good sign. All right, I will tell you how to manage this kind of meeting. You're going to start this meeting the way you start every meeting and basically every conversation, whether it's with a prospect or a client. And that's with the right side up inquiry, which, in other words, you start the meeting by saying, it's great to see you all. Before we dive in, what would make this meeting useful, helpful, valuable for you? And find out from the group what they're looking for, because you might be surprised. And if you go in with a too tight an agenda where you absolutely want to deliver some things and that's not what they're looking for, then you'll be going off track. So find out what they want. And that's the best way to make it not a, okay, yeah, thanks for presenting, we're just going to go away, because you'll give them exactly what they want. Now, having said that, you should have things you're ready to present. I would suggest going into a meeting like this with some sort of diagnostic and framework, meaning go into a meeting with a team. We already know the CEO wants you to work with them. Go in with a diagnostic that allows them to engage, allows them to say to you and to each other, oh, wow, we have a gap here. We need to close that gap, and these folks can help. So if you have some sort of framework which makes it clear how to think about their challenge, and a diagnostic which allows them to self-diagnose, conclude that they need help, that is ideal. And the one thing I wouldn't do is try to push to get an engagement. Let that come from them rather than you trying to push for it. You already have good momentum behind there. Carol, anything you would add to that or do differently?
I'd actually want to ask you 2 questions to dig into 2 points real quickly. On the diagnostic, wouldn't they want to come in? It's a high level diagnostic. So if you already have this really robust diagnostic, don't try to complete that in your 30 minutes. Come bring it up. Very high level. You only have 30 minutes.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. That's exactly right. Thank you for clarifying that. Yes, this is not the time to do a 2-hour diagnostic and cram it into 15 minutes of your conversation. It's a general framework. It's, look, here are 3 aspects we found to be important. Rate yourself. Great, okay, or not so good on each of those. That kind of thing.
Awesome. And then the very last thing, completely agree. Don't try to push for an engagement, but you definitely want to end with, this has been a great conversation. When would you like to talk again? You want to get the next call on the calendar before you hang up.
100%. And ask them what they think the next step is. Where do we go from here?
Yep.
Yeah, totally agree with that. All right, John, let me quickly answer your question. And by the way, if you have questions on what we just said, then let us know. Wide diversity of opinion by AI experts. What's the impact and how to pick an approach to follow? Well, there's questions about AGI, if you're familiar with that, whether we reach that, whether we don't reach that, whether these LLMs are going to continue to improve and even continue to do what they do now, given all of the companies are losing billions of dollars. So, what's the impact? How do you plan for that? I think right now, what you do is you use the tools as they are and integrate them as best you're able to, and assume they're not going to disappear, but you might have to pay more for them in the future. So think about what can be pushed off to an AI. What can be done to 85 or 90% quality over and over again, not too much nuance, that will help us as a firm. Maybe it's first draft of proposals. Maybe it's just handling analyses. On the internal side, there's a whole lot of things that could be done. And I would plan on that working out. I'm not sure I would plan on it becoming your next junior consultant. Analyst, maybe, not next junior consultant. So we'll see how it goes. It will be interesting. And just like that, somehow we've already hit our time. So thank you for spending the past 15 minutes with Carol and with me. Couple quick announcements, especially if you are watching this on replay, which I know a lot of you watch this on replay. If you are a solo consultant and you have not come to a solo practice accelerator, I highly encourage you to come. And I should let you know the early bird registration ends this week. It ends in just a few days, and already half the seats are already gone. They're sold. So I would encourage you to go in there, use the link. Thank you, Jaron. Ask any questions you have, and then join us. Also, if you're not connected with Carol and with me on LinkedIn, please connect with us there. That's how you get to us. We want to make sure we're connected with you. And if in this, we've been talking about things like right side up or a couple of topics or terms you're not familiar with, it's possible they're in the book that will replace me. Thank you, Jaron. And if you haven't read that book, I would read that. There's a reason it's one of the highest rated best-selling books on Amazon.com for consultants. So there's a little QR code. You can scan that quickly, or you can come back and watch the replay and scan it. And that is it. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a fabulous week. And remember, consulting is about them. It's about your clients. It's about your prospects. So as always, give them value and give them kindness. And we will see you next Monday. Take care, all.
Bye, everybody.